Princess Lyra stood on her balcony overlooking the crystal spires of Astoria, capital of the Celestial Empire. The three moons hung in the lavender sky, casting their pale light across the city. She sighed deeply, knowing what tomorrow would bring. Yet another suitor seeking her hand in marriage. 117, she whispered to herself. That was the exact count of nobles, princes, and dignitaries who had tried to win her over. All had failed her tests. Behind her, the door to her chambers slid open with a soft hiss. Her father, Emperor Zorax, entered with his usual regal bearing, though lines of worry had begun to etch themselves around his eyes. "Daughter," he said, his voice resonating with authority despite his evident exhaustion. "Prince Krell of the Orion Collective has departed. Most unhappily." Lyra turned to face him. "He failed the test of wisdom, father. He chose glory over mercy. How could such a man rule beside me?" The Emperor's expression hardened. "The Orion Collective controls 3 major trade routes to the Outer Rim. This is the 4th alliance you have cost us this cycle." He moved closer. "The Council grows concerned. Some suggest you deliberately create impossible tests. The tests reveal character, nothing more," Lyra replied. Her silver eyes, a trademark of the royal bloodline, flashed with defiance. "I will not bind myself to someone unworthy simply for political convenience." Emperor Zorax's shoulders slumped slightly. Despite his frustration, he loved his daughter deeply. The ancient prophecy speaks of one who walks among the stars yet is not of them. Perhaps we search in the wrong places. Lyra had heard about this prophecy since childhood. According to the imperial seers, only such a being could truly match the princess and bring prosperity to the empire. She had long dismissed it as superstition. "Prophecies are for those who lack the courage to make their own destiny," she said. The emperor moved to leave but paused at the doorway. "The diplomatic summit begins next week. Representatives from across the galaxy will attend, including the humans." Lyra's interest flickered momentarily. Humans were relatively new to galactic society, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 70 years ago. Their planet Earth was considered a backwater, their technology primitive by imperial standards. Yet they had expanded quickly, establishing colonies and trade relationships with surprising efficiency. "Will you attend the welcome ceremony?" her father asked. "Perhaps," she replied noncommittally. After he left, Lyra returned to her balcony. Below in the gardens, she noticed servants preparing for the arrival of diplomatic delegations. An idea formed in her mind. The next morning, Lyra exchanged her royal attire for the simple gray uniform of a palace attendant. She had done this before. Slipping among the common folk unrecognized gave her insights no princess could gain from a throne. As she helped arrange accommodations for the early arrivals, Lyra overheard 2 imperial advisors speaking in hushed tones. "The emperor grows desperate," one said. "If the princess does not choose soon, the council threatens to invoke the succession amendment. They would not dare strip her of her birthright." The other replied. "They might, if alliance treaties continue to collapse." Lyra's hands tightened around the linen she carried. The succession amendment was rarely mentioned, a law that allowed the council to bypass the direct heir if they were deemed unfit to rule. She had not realized how precarious her position had become. That evening, as she resumed her disguise to continue her covert observations, Lyra watched the first shuttle of Earth's delegation land on the central platform. Unlike the ornate vessels of other civilizations, the human ship was plain and functional. "Let us see what these humans are truly like," she murmured to herself. "Perhaps they will prove more interesting than the usual parade of sycophants and power seekers." Little did she know that among those disembarking was Jack Morrison, a man who would soon challenge everything she thought she knew about galactic civilizations. And her own heart. Jack Morrison adjusted his collar as he stepped off the transport shuttle onto Astorian soil. The gravity was slightly lighter than Earth's, making him feel oddly buoyant. Around him, fellow human diplomats marveled at the crystalline architecture of the Imperial spaceport. "Remember," said Ambassador Ellen Grant, "we're here for resources, not to gawk like tourists. Earth's outer colonies need those mineral rights." Jack nodded. At 32, he was younger than most in the diplomatic corps, but his background in cultural anthropology and natural talent for languages had earned him this assignment. His job was to understand Astorian customs and help navigate the complex social rituals that could make or break their negotiations. "The Celestial Empire has denied our previous 3 requests," Ellen continued. "This time, we need to show them humans aren't just upstart primitives." As they were escorted to their quarters, Jack observed the many alien species around them. The Astorians themselves were humanoid but taller than average humans, with silver-flecked skin that seemed to shimmer under the light of their 3 moons. Their evident technological superiority was intimidating. Servants moved silently on gravity platforms, and security drones, shaped like exotic birds, patrolled overhead. "They certainly want us to feel small," Jack murmured. That evening, while the senior diplomats attended formal introductions, Jack slipped away to explore the palace gardens. He needed to understand this culture better if he was going to be useful to the mission. Plus, the endless political small talk exhausted him. The gardens were a marvel of alien botany. Plants that changed colors as he passed, flowers that hummed soft melodies, and trees with crystalline leaves that chimed in the gentle breeze. Jack found a quiet bench near a pond filled with luminescent aquatic creatures. He didn't notice the gray-uniformed attendant watching him until she spoke. "Most visitors don't appreciate the quiet sections of the garden," she said in perfect English. Jack looked up, surprised. The woman appeared to be Astorian, with the characteristic silver flecks in her skin, but her eyes were more intensely silver than others he'd seen. "On Earth, we have a saying. Sometimes the most beautiful places are the least visited," he replied. She sat beside him, maintaining a respectful distance. "You are from Earth, then. What is it like?" Jack smiled. "Chaotic, beautiful, contradictory. We have oceans deeper than your tallest buildings and mountains that pierce the clouds. Our cities never sleep, and our wilderness still holds mysteries." "You speak of your world with love," she observed. "Don't all people love their homes?" he asked. The woman's expression darkened momentarily. "Not always. Some see only what could be improved, what should be different." Jack studied her. For a palace servant, she spoke with unusual confidence. "I'm Jack Morrison, cultural liaison for Earth's delegation." She hesitated. "You can call me Lyra." "Is that close to Lyra? Like your princess?" Jack asked, demonstrating his homework on the royal family. Her eyes widened slightly. "Yes, it's a common name here." They talked for over an hour. Jack explained Earth customs, while Lyra shared insights about Astorian culture that weren't in any of his briefing materials. She was particularly interested in human marriage practices. "In your world, people choose their partners freely?" she asked. "Usually, yes, though family expectations still influence many," Jack replied. "I understand your princess has quite high standards." The diplomatic briefing mentioned she's rejected over 100 suitors. Lyra's lips curved into a subtle smile. Perhaps she simply hasn't found someone worthy yet. A distant chime rang out, and Lyra stood quickly. "I must go. The evening meal service begins soon." Before Jack could respond, she disappeared down a path, leaving him with the strange feeling that this encounter was more significant than it seemed. The next morning, Ambassador Grant burst into Jack's quarters, her face flushed with excitement. "Morrison, the Emperor has announced a competition for Princess Lyra's hand in marriage. All delegations are invited to put forward a candidate." She grinned broadly. "And you've just been volunteered." "You can't be serious," Jack said, nearly choking on his breakfast. Ambassador Grant stood before him with a determined look that told him she was, indeed, quite serious. "The entire diplomatic corps discussed it last night after you wandered off. You're our best option," she explained. "You're single, you've studied their culture extensively, and you're adaptable." Jack set down his fork. I'm a cultural liaison, not a contestant in some interstellar dating game. The ambassador sat across from him. Listen, Morrison. Every major power is entering this competition. If Earth shows no interest, it's as good as declaring we don't consider ourselves worthy of alliance with the Celestial Empire. But the princess has rejected over 100 suitors already, Jack protested. What chance would a human have? This isn't about winning, Grant said, lowering her voice. It's about representation, showing the galaxy that humanity belongs at the table. Besides, the Emperor has announced new trade agreements will be considered during the competition. This is our chance. 3 hours later, Jack found himself in the Grand Hall of Celestial Light alongside representatives from the most powerful civilizations in known space. Towering Arcturians with their blue-scaled skin, telepathic Vanir delegates floating inches above the ground, and the fearsome Voidborn with their shadow-like appearance that seemed to absorb light. Emperor Zorax sat upon a crystalline throne, his regal bearing making the massive hall seem somehow small. Beside him, on a slightly lower throne, sat Princess Lyra. Jack froze when he saw her. It was Lyra from the garden, the servant he had spoken with so openly. Their eyes met briefly across the hall, and he thought he detected the slightest smile before her expression returned to royal neutrality. Representatives of the galaxy, Emperor Zorax's voice resonated through the hall without any apparent amplification. For too long, the throne of the Celestial Empire has awaited a worthy consort for Princess Lyra. Today begins the final competition for her hand. Murmurs spread through the assembled crowd. 12 champions from 12 civilizations will face 3 trials: the test of strength, the test of mind, and the final challenge. The princess herself has helped design these trials to find a truly worthy partner. Jack glanced at the other suitors. Most were clearly warriors or princes, adorned with advanced technology and exuding confidence. Many looked at the human with barely concealed amusement. Prince Draylock of the Voidborn Empire, tall and wrapped in shifting darkness, stepped forward. Your Majesty, surely you don't consider all entrants equal? His glowing eyes flicked toward Jack. Some species have only recently learned to leave their homeworlds. They lack the evolutionary advantages that make a worthy consort. Several delegates nodded in agreement. Emperor Zorax raised a hand for silence. The ancient texts speak of one who walks among the stars, yet is not of them. All who enter have equal standing until the trials prove otherwise. Jack felt a cold knot in his stomach. He had gone from cultural liaison to Earth's representative in a high-stakes political contest in less than a day. The smirking faces of advanced alien competitors surrounded him. After the announcement, as delegates mingled, Princess Lyra approached Jack, surrounded by attendants. Earth's champion, she said formally, loud enough for others to hear. I hope you find our customs educational. Your Highness, Jack bowed, playing along. I look forward to learning more about your empire. Her eyes held his for a moment longer than necessary. Perhaps you already have learned some things not found in official records, she said quietly. Before he could respond, Ambassador Grant pulled him aside. What was that about? She whispered urgently. I think, Jack said slowly, I accidentally met the princess yesterday. She was disguised as a servant. Grant's eyes widened. That could either be very good or very bad for us. The first trial begins tomorrow at dawn. Whatever happens, remember you're representing Earth now. As Jack returned to his quarters, a message appeared on his communication device. The garden holds many secrets, some worth knowing before the trials begin. It was unsigned, but Jack had little doubt who had sent it. Dawn broke over Astoria, painting the crystal spires with golden light. Jack stood with the 11 other competitors at the edge of the Imperial Combat Arena, a massive circular field surrounded by hovering platforms filled with spectators. Welcome to the test of strength, announced a royal herald. Each champion will face 3 physical challenges. Those who survive all 3 may proceed to the test of mind. Jack noted the word survive with unease. Around him, The alien competitors activated various technological enhancements. The Arcturian champion's muscles bulged as biochemical stimulants pumped through his body. Prince Dreloc's shadowy form seemed to grow more substantial, darkness coalescing into armor. A palace attendant approached Jack. "The Empire provides all competitors with standard enhancement options," she said, offering a tray of devices. Jack considered the unfamiliar technology, then shook his head. "I'll compete as I am." Whispers and chuckles spread among the other suitors. From her viewing platform, Princess Lyra leaned forward with interest. The first challenge was simple but brutal. Cross a field while automated defense systems fired stun bolts at the competitors. The alien champions used various shields, speed enhancements, or in the case of the Vanner delegate, precognitive abilities to avoid the shots. Jack had none of these advantages. Instead, he watched the pattern of fire, noted the slight delay between targeting and shooting, and ran in an unpredictable zigzag pattern. He was hit twice, sending painful shocks through his body, but managed to reach the end, collapsing as he crossed the finish line. 3 competitors had been eliminated, unable to withstand the stun bolts. 9 remained. The human shows unexpected resilience. Emperor Zorax commented to his daughter. "Perhaps there is more to these Earth people than appears," Lyra replied, her eyes not leaving Jack as he slowly regained his footing. The second challenge tested raw strength. Competitors had to lift increasingly heavy crystalline cubes, using only physical power. The Arcturian easily handled weights that would crush a normal human. Prince Dreloc manipulated void energy to assist his lifts. Jack knew he couldn't match them in brute force. When his turn came, he examined the cube carefully, noting its structure. Rather than attempting to lift it straight up as the others had done, he carefully tipped it onto one edge, then rolled it forward using leverage and momentum instead of pure strength. "Clever," murmured Princess Lyra. "He finds another way." 2 more competitors failed this challenge, leaving 7. As Jack prepared for the final physical test, a combat challenge against robotic guardians, he noticed Prince Dreloc speaking with one of the arena technicians. Moments later, the technician approached the control panel for Jack's section of the arena. The final challenge began. Each competitor faced 3 combat drones programmed to test fighting skills without causing permanent injury. Jack's military training helped him disable the first drone by targeting its sensor array. As the second drone activated, Jack noticed it moved faster than those facing other competitors. The third drone joined the fight before he had defeated the second, a clear deviation from the rules. Jack found himself fighting for his life against 2 enhanced combat machines. A blow from one sent him sprawling across the arena floor. Blood trickled from a cut on his forehead. From the royal platform, Princess Lyra stood abruptly. "There is an irregularity," she began, but her father placed a restraining hand on her arm. "Let us see how he responds," the Emperor said quietly. Jack struggled to his feet. The drones circled him, clearly operating beyond their normal parameters. In desperation, he lured them toward each other. When they attacked simultaneously, he dropped to the ground, causing the drones to collide. Their momentary confusion gave him the opportunity to disable both by removing their central processing units. Breathing heavily, bleeding from several cuts, Jack was the last to complete the challenge. 6 competitors remained. As medical attendants tended to his injuries, Jack caught Princess Lyra's gaze. She gave him a nearly imperceptible nod of approval. Prince Dreloc approached, his shadowy form looming over Jack. "Impressive adaptation, human. But the test of mind will require more than primitive cleverness." "Perhaps," Jack replied evenly, "or perhaps it will require exactly that." Later, as night fell, a small package arrived at Jack's quarters. Healing salves and a note reading simply, "Not all challenges are official. Be watchful." The great library of Astoria stretched hundreds of feet upward, its spiral shelves containing knowledge from across the galaxy. Here, the 6 remaining competitors gathered for the test of mind. Jack's body still ached from yesterday's physical trials. The healing salves had helped, but he knew he was at a disadvantage compared to species with enhanced regeneration abilities. "The test of mind has 3 components," announced the Imperial scholar, an ancient Astorian with skin so lined with silver it appeared metallic. "First, you must solve puzzles from our ancient archives. Then navigate diplomatic scenarios that have challenged our empire. Finally, answer questions posed by Princess Lyra herself." Jack glanced at the princess, who sat observing the proceedings with careful attention. Their eyes met briefly before she looked away. The first puzzles were mathematical and spatial challenges. Jack watched his competitors with interest. The telepathic Vanner delegate solved them almost instantly, while Prince Draylock used void energy to manipulate the puzzle pieces in multiple dimensions simultaneously. When Jack's turn came, he approached the puzzle differently. Where others saw only the pieces before them, Jack recognized the puzzle pattern from Earth's own history, similar to an ancient Chinese wooden lock design. His anthropological background gave him insight the others lacked. "Fascinating approach," the Imperial scholar noted as Jack completed the challenge. "Most attempt to force the solution through analysis. You recognized its essence." The second round presented diplomatic scenarios. Each competitor entered a simulation chamber where they faced a holographic recreation of a historical Astorian crisis. Jack's scenario involved negotiating peace between 2 species with fundamentally different biology and values. Rather than trying to change either side's position, Jack proposed a solution where the 2 civilizations never needed to interact directly but could still trade and cooperate through intermediaries. When he emerged from the chamber, Jack noticed Princess Lyra deep in conversation with her father. She appeared to be arguing a point passionately. 2 more competitors failed this round, leaving 4: Prince Draylock, the Vanner telepath named Sorvik, an Arctarian general called Krull, and Jack. For the final challenge, Princess Lyra herself posed questions to each competitor. To Krull, she asked, "If forced to choose between saving your own people or preserving an ancient civilization unknown to the galaxy, but with unique knowledge, what would you do?" The Arctarian answered without hesitation, "My people come first. Knowledge can be rediscovered." To Sorvik, she asked, "When is it ethical to read the thoughts of another without permission?" The telepath's answer was complex and nuanced, discussing various scenarios where the greater good might outweigh individual privacy. To Prince Draylock, "What is the value of compassion in leadership?" The Voidborn prince spoke eloquently about strategic kindness and calculated mercy as tools of control. Finally, Lyra turned to Jack. Her question was unexpected. "What does Earth value that the galaxy might learn from?" Jack considered carefully. "Diversity of thought," he finally said. "On Earth, we have thousands of cultures, languages, and perspectives. We don't seek universal agreement but strength through different viewpoints. Our history shows our greatest advances come when different approaches collide." Princess Lyra studied him thoughtfully. "And if those differences lead to conflict?" "They often do," Jack admitted. "We've fought terrible wars over our differences, but we've learned that suppressing diversity creates only false harmony. True strength comes from finding unity without requiring uniformity." The room fell silent. Even Prince Draylock seemed to be considering Jack's words. When the judges conferred, Jack was surprised to find himself advancing to the final round alongside Prince Draylock. Both Sorvik and Krull were eliminated. As Jack left the library, Princess Lyra passed close by him. Without looking directly at him, she whispered, "The final challenge has never been what it appears. Remember why you came here." That night, Jack received a message from Ambassador Grant. "Whatever happens tomorrow, you've already secured respect for Earth. The Emperor has agreed to preliminary trade discussions regardless of the competition's outcome." Jack stared at the message, wondering if winning was still the goal, or if something more important was at stake. The Imperial Amphitheater buzzed with anticipation as representatives from across the galaxy gathered to witness the final contest. Jack stood at one entrance to the massive structure, while across the arena, Prince Draylock's shadowy form seemed to absorb the morning light. Emperor Zorax rose from his throne, his voice carrying effortlessly to every corner of the amphitheater. For centuries, the final challenge has tested not just ability, but character. Today, our finalists will enter the sacred labyrinth to retrieve the heart of Astoria. A holographic image appeared above the arena, a crystal that pulsed with inner light. Jack recognized it from historical texts as a symbolic representation of the Empire's soul. The labyrinth changes for each contestant, Princess Lyra explained, stepping forward. It responds to fears, desires, and intentions. The heart can only be claimed by one truly worthy. Jack caught her gaze. There was something in her eyes, a message he couldn't quite decipher. "Begin," the Emperor commanded. Twin doors opened on opposite sides of the arena. Jack entered a corridor of shifting crystal that sealed behind him. Immediately, the temperature dropped, and an eerie blue light guided his way. Unlike the physical and mental tests, the labyrinth seemed designed to disorient and confuse. Passages appeared and disappeared. Some rooms defied gravity, with water flowing upward and objects suspended in midair. Jack soon realized the labyrinth responded to his thoughts. When he considered going left, that passage would sometimes seal itself or open to reveal something disturbing, like animated scenes of Earth's most destructive wars. A test of intention, Jack murmured to himself. He focused his mind on finding the heart not for personal glory, but to represent Earth honorably. The path ahead stabilized. Jack navigated increasingly complex chambers, solving puzzles that seemed tailored to human psychology rather than universal logic. In one room, he found himself faced with multiple reflections, each showing different versions of himself, some in Astorian royal garb, others in military uniforms, one even as a broken figure rejected and humiliated. "These are possibilities," a disembodied voice whispered. "Choose what you truly seek." Jack approached his ordinary reflection. "I seek to be myself, nothing more or less." The mirror dissolved, revealing a new passage. After what felt like hours, Jack entered a central chamber. In its center, on a crystal pedestal, pulsed the heart of Astoria. The gem's light painted the room in warm hues that reminded him of Earth's sunrise. As he approached, he heard a sound from another entrance. Prince Draylock had arrived simultaneously. The Voidborn prince moved swiftly toward the heart, his shadow form extending tendrils toward the crystal. But as he reached for it, the floor beneath him cracked. Draylock cried out as he began to sink into what appeared to be a liquid darkness similar to his own essence. Jack hesitated only briefly before abandoning his approach to the heart and rushing toward the struggling prince. The floor became increasingly unstable under their combined weight. "Leave me," Draylock commanded. "Take your prize." Jack ignored him, working to pull the prince from the engulfing darkness. This isn't about winning anymore. Together, they struggled to solid ground, the heart now unreachable as the center of the chamber had become a swirling vortex. "You sacrificed your victory," Draylock said, genuine confusion in his luminous eyes. "Some things matter more than winning," Jack replied. The chamber dissolved around them, and they found themselves back in the amphitheater. The crowd was silent, all eyes on the two competitors who returned empty-handed. Emperor Zorax stood. "For the first time in our history, no champion has retrieved the heart." Prince Draylock stepped forward. "I would have fallen into the void if not for the human." He abandoned his chance at victory to save an opponent. Princess Lyra descended from her viewing platform, approaching the two finalists. "The heart of Astoria cannot be claimed through combat or cunning alone," she said. "It must be earned through character." She turned to Jack. "You entered the labyrinth seeking not glory or power, but understanding. When faced with a choice between victory and compassion, you chose compassion." She smiled fully for the first time. The true challenge was never about retrieving the heart, but demonstrating one's worthiness to be part of our future. The Emperor nodded solemnly. "The human has shown unexpected wisdom. Let the final judgment be made." The Imperial Palace's ceremony hall glowed with the light of 1,000 floating crystals. Dignitaries from across the galaxy waited in hushed anticipation for the Emperor's final judgment. Jack stood before the throne, acutely aware of how far he had come from being a simple cultural liaison. Emperor Zorax rose, his ceremonial robes shimmering with embedded stardust. For generations, the Celestial Empire has sought a worthy match for the royal bloodline. Today, we have witnessed something unprecedented. Princess Lyra stood beside her father, her silver eyes fixed on Jack with an intensity that made his heart race. Jack Morrison of Earth, the Emperor continued, "You have passed trials designed to find the perfect consort for my daughter. By our ancient laws, you have earned the right to her hand in marriage." A murmur swept through the assembled crowd. Ambassador Grant and the Earth delegation looked both shocked and delighted. Jack took a deep breath. This was the moment that would define Earth's relationship with the Celestial Empire for generations to come. But something didn't feel right. "Your Majesty," Jack said, his voice steady despite his nerves, "I am deeply honored by this judgment, but I must speak honestly." The murmuring stopped. Even Prince Draylock, who stood among the honored guests, leaned forward with interest. "I entered this competition not seeking a bride, but seeking respect for Earth. My people are newcomers to galactic society, but we have much to offer and much to learn." Jack turned to face Princess Lyra directly. "And I believe the princess deserves more than a diplomatic arrangement. She deserves someone who knows her heart, not just someone who passed her tests." Lyra's composed expression softened. She stepped forward, addressing the assembly. "Throughout my life, I have been viewed as a prize to be won, an alliance to be secured. Each suitor saw the crown, not the person wearing it." She moved closer to Jack. "Until this human, who spoke to me as an equal when he thought I was merely a servant, who showed integrity when no one was watching." The Emperor studied them both. "What are you proposing, Earth diplomat?" Jack squared his shoulders. "A true alliance between our worlds, based on mutual respect rather than arranged marriage. And perhaps," he glanced at Lyra, "the chance for two people to discover if there's something genuine between them, without the pressure of politics." For a moment, the hall was completely silent. Then Emperor Zorax did something few had ever witnessed. He laughed, a warm sound that echoed through the chamber. "In 118 attempts, you are the first to suggest the princess herself should have a choice in the matter." He looked at his daughter fondly. "Perhaps this is why your tests found him worthy." Lyra's smile was radiant. "The prophecy spoke of one who walks among stars, yet is not of them. We assumed it meant someone supernatural or spiritually transcendent. But perhaps it simply meant someone who sees beyond titles and status, someone from a world just beginning its journey among the stars." The Emperor raised his hands. "Let it be known throughout the galaxy, Earth is recognized as a full ally of the Celestial Empire. Their diplomat has shown wisdom beyond his years and compassion beyond our expectations." Later that evening, in the palace gardens where they first met, Jack and Lyra walked together under the light of 3 moons. "Will you return to Earth soon?" she asked. "Ambassador Grant has asked me to stay as permanent diplomatic liaison," Jack replied. "It seems I have a talent for Astorian relations." Lyra laughed. "Indeed you do." She stopped beside the luminescent pond. "My father has agreed that I may court according to my own wishes, not imperial protocol." "And what are your wishes, princess?" Jack asked softly. "To know the man who chose understanding over victory, to learn about Earth and its people, to see if what began here might grow into something real." She held out her hand. No titles, no tests, just Lyra and Jack. He took her hand, marveling at how something so alien could feel so right. "I'd like that very much." Above them, the stars of 2 civilizations shone brightly, witnesses to a new beginning that would change the course of galactic history, not through conquest or political maneuvering, but through understanding and genuine connection. After all, the most powerful alliances are those built on respect, and the most enduring relationships are those where each person sees the true worth of the other.